Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're seated at a long Thanksgiving table that gleams like a calm lake, with the chandelier casting slow golden ripples across gravy boats and cranberry glass, while somewhere under the talk and the forks, you can hear the timid heartbeat of the dishwasher trying to keep up. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I like seeing our little constellation of night owls. Now, turn off the lights, maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's begin tonight's journey together. I'm Maris. I wear the kind of quiet sweater that makes rooms underestimate me, which is fine. I do my best work in understatement. Across the table, my son, Evan, every bit of his father's jawline, and next to him, Sloan, diamond ear studs, arched brow, perfect posture you could balance a lawsuit on. The turkey looks like it passed a job interview. The potatoes could get into graduate school. When the laughter swells around football talk, Evan leans in, breath warm with nutmeg and nerves. "Mom," he whispers, "are you enjoying my $10,000 payments?" He smiles like a boy trying to sound like a patron. The room doesn't hear. I do. Light joke 1. I blink slowly and say, "Sweetheart, I live in a 160 square foot studio with a sink that thinks it's a philosopher." I keep my voice piano soft. "So if you're sending me $10,000, it must be folding itself into origami swans and flying right back." The chandelier hums. Across from me, Sloane's fork freezes midair. Her plate, thin porcelain, expensive. Easily startled, rattles against the charger like a small earthquake, just remembered it had plants. "What?" Evan asks, too loud now. The word "a sparrow" hitting a window. The conversation around us falters, then hushes, like everyone decided to listen to the same invisible radio. "The payments," he says again, lower. "Since June. 10,000 on the 1st. I set an auto transfer for you. For rent. For everything." "I've received exactly $0, I say, which is an admirably round number. I sip water. Because, ASMR or not, I was raised to be gentle with throwables. Sloane's smile returns to her face like a returning soldier, different now. "Bank error," she says, the 2 words dressed in cashmere. "Happens all the time during holidays. Algorithms." She picks up her phone, flips it face down again, then up, then down. "We'll fix it Monday." Her voice says Monday like other people say never. "Monday's fine," I murmur. "But let's do a small thing now, because gratitude pairs best with clarity." I take a napkin, fold it in half, and place it by my bread plate like an altar for facts. "Evan, will you please read the last 4 digits of the account you set up for me?" He does. I repeat them. Then add the routing number he texted me in June. "Thank you," I say. "Now tell me the account name you used." "Your name," he says, then cringes. "I mean, Maris Gray, household." "And the confirmation email?" I ask, calm as a library. "What address did it go to?" "Yours," he says. "I sent it to your Gmail." Light joke 2. My Gmail is so empty these days, it echoes. I say, "I could store winter in there." He frowns. "So, where did it go?" "Probably," I answer, watching Sloane's left eyelid twitch like a metronome with too much espresso. "To an account with my name on it, plus another name, some creative monogram, and an email server that forwards only the compliments." I smile into my glass. "But that's a Monday activity. Tonight we chew. Around us." The table resumes pretending, the way good tables do when a family needs time to notice the fire alarm without blaming the turkey. Elder wisdom. If a gift arrives with a hush built into the wrapping, put it down and read the card twice. Real generosity doesn't need you to be quiet to work. We pass the sweet potatoes like a peace treaty. Sloane laughs too loudly at a cousin's joke about yams. Evan keeps glancing at me like a man who left his wallet on a roof and is trying to look casual until the light turns red. Academic phrase of the day: financial opacity. The public argument that money hidden behind complicated structures becomes easier to steal and harder to repair. I keep the cadence gentle. Clarity isn't rude, it's oxygen. Sloane clears her throat. It's Thanksgiving, she says. Let's not weaponize banks. She reaches for my hand as if we are already in the reconciliation montage. Of course you're taken care of. Maris, we love you. Quirky sidebar. True. In the 1800s. Etiquette manuals recommended sending handwritten receipts for gifts above $20 and urged givers to never call attention to their generosity at the table. To speak of sums while serving poultry is vulgar, one wrote. No mention of pumpkin pie, but the spirit stands. I set my fork down the way a conductor sets down a baton. Thank you, I say. And just so we share a vocabulary, taking care of means money landing where I can spend it on rent, utilities, and one luxurious candle in January. A cousin toasts football. The gravy obliges gravity. I catch a flash of Sloane's phone screen, a banking app, the color scheme branded like confidence. Her thumb blurs. She laughs at something no one said. Light joke 3. I turn to the aunt on my right and ask if the stuffing has opinions on jurisprudence. It does not. It just wants butter. Evan tries again, softer. Mom, I wanted you comfortable. I didn't want you scraping by after Dad. He swallows. I want it easy. I love easy, I say. It's just shy lately, Monday. We'll invite Easy back with 2 things. Your bank statements and the patience of a clerk. Sloane's jaw ticks. You don't trust me, she says, and the table hears us again, the way oceans hear storms. I trust nouns? I answer. Names on accounts, digits that match, emails that arrive. I smile to keep the room soft. You're invited to trust them too. They're very friendly when you feed them dates. She stands, too quickly for a chair that expensive. Porcelain has a nervous system. Her plate wobbles, tips, and meets the floor with the sound of a small plan failing. The room flinches, then performs kindness like a well-rehearsed choir. It's fine, someone says. Happens. Another voice. We needed an excuse to sweep. Sloane laughs, brittle. Clumsy me. She kneels to gather the glittering crescent of ruined china. Evan joins her. His face a weather map, high pressure over guilt, low pressure near rage. I'm very careful to breathe. Grief taught me that breath is a kind of ledger. You must keep it balanced. When the shards are gone and the cranberry sauce has resumed being blameless, I lift my glass. To the Monday of it all, I say, to the bank clerks and their matching numbers, to emails that arrive where they're supposed to rent checks that clear, to sons who mean well, to daughters-in-law who learn to love receipts. A few people laugh, surprised into relief. Evan's eyes are wet from something that isn't onions. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispers. If something went wrong, when something goes wrong, I say. We list, we print, we bring a folder, neat enough to calm a fire alarm. I fold my napkin. Not like a flag, just like fabric that did its job. I stand and begin to collect plates the way kindness collects evidence, quietly. Without accusing the gravy, in the kitchen, the sink greets me with its old sermon: water, heat, soap, patience. I stack, I rinse, I listen. Evan comes in, alone. He leans against the counter like a boy again. I thought she set it up, he says. I told her what I wanted to do, and she said she'd handle the details. I was busy. He looks at me, hurting. That's not an excuse. It's a map that shows how I left you behind without noticing. We'll redraw it, I say. On Monday. Bring your laptop. Bring your login. Don't bring shame. It talks too much and never helps. He nods, wipes his eyes with the paper towel that thinks it's a hero.
and attempts a smile.
You still keep your receipts in shoeboxes? In a binder now, I say, color-coded. My rebellion against chaos is aesthetically pleasing. He laughs, honest. He squeezes my shoulder, quick, and returns to the table, to his wife, to the plate that is now a cousin of itself. I finish the dishes because small verbs steady big ones. Then I return to my chair and eat my pie with the solemnity pie deserves. Sloane doesn't meet my eyes. Evan does. And in his, I see a man who will show up Monday with a folder and also with something more important. The habit of not letting other people's confidence speak for him. As the night winds down, the house remembers to be a house, not a courtroom. Coats, hugs, weather. In the driveway, I press my hand to Evan's cheek. Monday, 9, I say. We'll see where the $10,000 birds fly. He nods. Monday, he says. Then, quieter. Thank you for not yelling. Yelling is for people who forgot their binders, I answer. I brought mine. Back in my studio, the sink that philosophizes, the bed that forgives. I write a small index card and tape it inside the cabinet. Elder wisdom. When money arrives with a story attached, ask for the receipt, the account name, and the timestamp. Stories blush. Numbers don't. On Monday. Bring paper. I put the kettle on and let it hum me toward sleep. Pie settling kindly, patience warming its hands for the work ahead. Monday keeps its promise to arrive on time. I put on my Please Speak in Timestamps cardigan, slide a thin binder into my tote, and meet Evan in front of First Seaside Bank, where the glass doors sigh like librarians. He looks taller when he's sorry. We stand in the entry while the automatic mat decides we're worthy. And then we're inside, surrounded by carpet that believes in amortization. I told Sloane I'd swing by the office, he murmurs. I didn't say where. His voice is careful. I examine it for borrowed confidence and find none. A teller ushers us to a side desk where a woman with a badge that says Lucy, Operation smiles like an older cousin who knows which cousins not to seat together. How can I help? Routine clarity, I say, lowering my voice to its indoor lull. My son set up a monthly transfer, $10,000 on the first, into an account titled for me. The money has not landed where my rent lives. Lucy's fingers hover above the keyboard. We love routine clarity. She asks for IDs. Then for the last 4 digits, Evan remembers. He supplies them. The monitor glows. Lucy hums. I'm seeing an auto transfer created June 1st for $10,000 monthly. Destination account ending in 4421. Title Maris Gray plus household. Is that the one? The plus sign is new, I say softly. Who is household? Lucy scrolls to the signature card and swivels the screen toward us. The monitor becomes a mirror with handwriting. There is my printed name. Then, underneath, in a font that wants to be a spouse. Sloane A. Kincaid, authorized signer. Joint mailing address, Evan and Sloane's condo. Email for statements, Marist House, support at, followed by a domain I've never met. I never, Evan breathes like he's untying a knot with his lungs. I said, for my mom, I assumed. Assumptions are expensive napkins, I murmur. Pretty until gravy. Lucy keeps her hands kind. This is a shared access account, she explains. Authorized to receive deposits from Evan's primary. Monthly statements go to this email. She clicks. Delivery confirmed each month at 12:01 a.m. on the 2nd. May I see charges, I ask. Not to gossip with numbers, just to hear them. She prints with a little apology for the trees. The paper lists a season's worth of confidence. 2 luxury boutique spends labeled wellness. A florist subscription at $80 a week. A salon that bills by hour with a blowout line that thinks it's a poem. A pet spa, although my studio has only a plant. And a transfer to a brokerage account ending in 7003 note, short-term bridge. Light joke 1, well, I say gently. My 160 square foot sink did feel unusually conditioned in August. Evan's hands are open on the desk, empty as a good apology. I'm an idiot, he says. No, I answer. You are a person who loves delegation. Delegation needs audit. Lucy clears her throat with a safety pin. We can freeze transfers pending review, she offers. You can also reissue to a new destination, completely separate, and set paper statements with postal delivery to Maris's address. I nod. Please, new destination. Name on the account, just mine. Email, my actual one. Paper statements, the studio with the philosopher's sink. While she clicks. I slide a small page from my binder. A list I made last night of noisier facts. Also, I add, USPS informed me 3 pieces of mail from June and July were undeliverable and returned. My landlord says my August rent check arrived late despite being sent on time. My phone log shows 3 missed calls that never rang. I keep my tone ASMR. Because the truth doesn't need a megaphone to sound like itself. These may be coincidences. They also may be a story asking for daylight. Lucy prints a change form and a fraud notice pamphlet like a discreet breath mint. Would you like a courtesy alert on your profile? She asks. No changes to any accounts bearing your name without in-person ID. It's called a speak to you flag. Yes, I say, and please make my name an RSVP. Evan signs where Lucy points, scowling at himself with a gentleness I recognize from when he cut his own bangs at 9. I'll call the brokerage about that 7003 number, he says. If that's what I think it is, we will replace guesses with nouns, I say. Academic phrase of the day. Constructive notice. The public argument that when information was available in a reasonable place, statements, policies, mailed notices. The law treats you as if you knew it, even if you didn't read it over cranberry sauce. The antidote is a ritual. Read, reconcile, record, then make tea. We leave the bank with a new account whose title does not pretend to be a relationship. Outside. The wind carries that collaborative salt smell. Downtown pretends at being a town. We walk 2 blocks to my studio because paperwork prefers companions and my kettle likes guests who apologize to it. While water thinks. Evan opens his laptop. Email, he says. June 1st. Transfer confirmation to Maris Gray, household. I see it. Then a follow-up at 12:03 a.m. Statement available, but the address is that weird Maris house.support at a custom domain. He clicks. The domain is registered to Kincaid Social LLC. Sloan's project, I say. Consulting for women who need to be more efficient with other people's time. He winces. I thought it was branding. It is, I say, just not yours. We spend an hour in the unshowy labor of sorting, forwarding rules, contact sheets, a list of who thinks what belongs where. I pull an old shoebox of receipts from under my bed, then laugh at my own relic. Upgraded, I say, and bring out the color-coded binder. Rent, utilities, grocery, medicine. The tabs purr at being seen. Quirky sidebar. True. In 1890, accountants began using tick marks, tiny symbols in ledgers, to indicate which numbers had been verified, carried or footed. One historian called them the marks that built railroads. Because quiet correctness holds more weight than a speech. My tick mark is a tiny star I draw next to dates that behave. We call the landlord together. Hi, it's Maris, I say, soft as dishwater. Could you confirm when my rent posted June through November? He reads the dates. August really did lag 5 days. We had a return mail sticker that month, he says. Figured postal nonsense. Thank you, I say. If a new check ever arrives from an account with my name plus another, please call me before depositing. We're teaching our numbers to behave. We call the brokerage. Evan takes that one. He has to practice saying. I gave no permission for a transfer from an account titled for my mother, in a tone that invites a supervisor. He does well. He hangs up with a case number that breathes like a door propped open. Light joke, too. I hand him a lemon drop and tell him it's for adverbs that try to sneak into his next call. Briefly, he says, I will avoid them fervently, and drops 50 cents into my adverb control jar without prompting. At lunch. The studio makes a little room where soup can be church. Evan stares at my 2-burner stove like it might spontaneously confess. She said, we set it up. He murmurs. I let we mean I don't have to look. Elder wisdom. When someone offers to be your eyes, keep your glasses on anyway. Help that requires you to stop seeing is theater. My phone buzzes. A text from Sloan. Babe, Bank says there's a freeze? This is so embarrassing for Mom. I'll fix later. Don't stress. Evan reads it, then looks at me like a man meeting a mirror. I'm going to reply. I'll handle. Please don't contact the bank on my behalf. He types it. No exclamation points. A tiny evolution. We walk to the post office, where bureaucracy grows like hardy perennials. I place a hold mail removal and a forwarding cancellation for anything with my name plus invented helpers. The clerk stamps things with the solemn joy of authorized thumps. You want in-person pickup only for any change to your forwarding? She asks. Yes, I say. I would like to know my mail lives where I live. Back at the studio. We build a folder named Monday, because naming the day teaches it manners. Inside, bank printouts, case numbers, landlord confirmation, USPS forms, a screenshot of the Kincaid social domain, and a narrow note in my hand. 10,000 swans, feathers accounted for. Evan's phone lights again. Sloan. He lets it ring into quiet. A minute later. An email arrives from her account to both of us. Subject, clarification. Body, the household account was a tool to manage bills more efficiently. I assumed Mom wanted simplicity. If any luxurious charges occurred, it was to keep her image. I can't believe you'd freeze things on a holiday week. She CCs her mother like a morality play. Light joke 3, I type. My image fits in a studio and drinks tap water. And deleted instead. I reply. Per bank, transfers are rerouted to a single name account. Please avoid contacting institutions on my behalf. A written breakdown of charges from June-November will be appreciated. Monday, 4 p.m. You're welcome to review the folder with us. Send. Evan exhales something that tasted like a habit. You're not angry? I am, I say. But anger is a show-off. Paperwork is an adult. I tap the binder. We will let the adult speak. He nods. He stands. He hugs me in the doorway like a boy who found his posture again. Tomorrow I'll call Detective Park, he says. Not to start a war. To ask for a map if this turns criminal. We will bring nouns to any map, I say. And snacks. Detectives like snacks. He laughs. Leaves. Remembers his coat. Returns. Then leaves again with his coat this time. I wash the 2 bowls with attention, because small verbs keep larger ones from picking locks. When the kettle sighs a second time, I write the day's card for the cabinet and read it out loud so the sink can approve. Ask the bank to speak to you, not to we. Replace assumptions with tick marks. Freeze what you can, reroute what must. Send paper a stamp. Delegation is not abdication. If a gift comes with an echo, check the walls for hidden speakers. I tape it up. The philosopher's sink nods in its way. One drip, then none. I let the hum of the building fold around me like a simple quilt. Monday did its job. Tuesday can have a turn. The binder rests within reach. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, gravy pretended to be a mirror. I feel the house settle under me like a ledger closing. Quietly. Correctly. Without applause. By noon, the city had trimmed its noise down to a polite murmur. My phone blinked once. Sloan. Lunch? We'll clear this up. I replied with 3 rules. Public place. Phones face up. We split the check, and chose the corner booth at La Mer where the napkins think they're tuxedos and the waiter pronounces water like a vintage. She arrived in sunglasses that believed in their own legal standing. "Maris?" she smiled, air kissing the room. "I'm mortified. The bank is chaos. The holidays. Algorithms." She let the word glitch hover like a scented candle. I set my little notebook on the table as if it were a harmless coaster. "Let's be kind to the nouns," I said, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. We saw a joint household account carrying my name plus yours, monthly statements to a custom email you control, and charges that would make my studio blush. Today is for putting things back where they belong. She glanced at the menu and chose the line with the highest number. I ordered a soup that knows its place. Our phones went face up. We breathed like adults. "Light joke one, I'm not here to be dramatic," I added. "I left my fainting couch in 1989. She tried a laugh, then folded her hands into a cathedral. "I did set up a shared account," she said. "Evan is generous, but distractible. I thought, streamline. I kept receipts." She slid over 3 glossy printouts. A florist subscription, freshness lifts mood. A salon membership, appearance matters, and a transfer labeled short-term bridge. "All for stability," she said. "For your image." "My image fits inside a studio and cooks eggs on a pan with opinions," I answered. "I do not require weekly hydrangeas to process grief." I tapped the bridge line. "This is where we leave the scenic route." She sipped $120 of water. "The brokerage is temporary." The word sounded like a guest who never pays rent. Academic phrase of the day, ostrich effect, the public argument that when money facts scare us, we look away and call it optimism. The cure is to make looking easier than not. Dates, statements, chairs that don't wobble. "Here's what happens next," I said, opening the notebook to a fresh page so the pen could feel brave. "Evan has rerouted transfers to an account with only my name. We've placed a speak to me flag on my profile. No changes without my face. The brokerage has a case number, and because I prefer kindness with verification. I'm building a small emergency fund at Harbor Credit Union. Deposits will be old-fashioned, labeled, and boring." I let that sentence sit where it might catch anyone trolling for opportunities. Then I added, lightly, "I've also created a new email for that fund and set up alerts. If any efficiency attempts sniff its perimeter, the system will tell me where the scent came from." Her smile cracked at the edges. "I don't attend to your accounts, Maris." "No," I said, almost kindly. "You attended to one for my image. Today we retire as image consultants." Our soups arrived with the hush that happens when plates cost more than apologies. Sloane took a photo of hers for an audience not present, then remembered the phones were meant to be face up and set it down again like a hot truth. Quirky sidebar, true. Most credit and ID numbers carry a built-in checksum, the Loon algorithm, that lets machines spot typos. A single wrong digit makes the math wince. I wish people came with checksums. Say the plan out loud. And if the vowels don't add up, the room refuses to swipe. "I'm not a thief," she said, voice low, expensive. I was preventing chaos. Evan would have forgotten the rent. You would have suffered. I bridged. "Bridges have dates, permits, a posted weight limit," I said. Yours had velvet ropes and mood lighting. I turned my notebook so she could see the 4 lines I'd already written. Joint account close to me. Email rerouted. USPS locks in place. Detective Park flagged for consult. We're choosing procedure over performance. It's less cinematic, it's more edible. Light joke too. And my image is switching to woman who pays for her own soup. I slid my card for my half under the bread plate. The waiter nodded approval as if tipping his hat to a lane marker. She stared at the card, then at my face, which has never been agile enough to fake panic. "You'll embarrass Evan if you go official." "I'm protecting Evan," I said. From bank penalties, from leverage disguised as help, from the moral hangover of ignoring his own numbers. I softened my voice to its bedtime register. This can be a quiet correction if it's swift. Return what left without permission. Send a written breakdown of charges from June through November. Will cover necessities you paid in good faith. The rest returns to its owner. For a moment, one breathable, delicate moment, her shoulders dropped. I can cover the salon and the florist, she said. The other transfer needs time. Time is available, I said, but it has paperwork. She worried the corner of her napkin until it thought about becoming confetti. You're judged when you look unkept, she murmured. He's a surgeon. People can expect us to be solvent, I said. The rest is theater. We ate. The soup behaved. I scribbled 3 small bait phrases in my notebook and let one slip into conversation, as if absent-minded. I'll move the first 2,000 into the harbor emergency fund tonight, just to see the alerts work. And then we sat in the humming quiet that serves as dessert in rooms like this one. Do not make this ugly, she said at last. Ugly is moving money through a door it wasn't invited to use, I replied. This is housekeeping. Bring me your sums by Friday. We'll be fair on the necessities. We'll be firm on the rest. She stood without scraping the floor, which is what training buys you. At the door, she offered a final flourish. I have influence, she said softly. You could be grateful. I am, I said, for bank clerks. She left. The room put its shoulders down. I sat for a minute and listened to the silver. Elder wisdom. When someone asks you to be grateful for something you didn't receive. Thank the furniture for supporting you while you say no. Back in my studio. I put the decoy into motion. Opened the harbor account. Named it Rainy Day, MG, turned on alerts so bright they could wake soup, and sent myself a small test transfer with a memo line that might attract the curious. Settle utilities. Then I created the new, clean email, told no one but the page, and waited to see if any efficiency teams introduced themselves. I forwarded Lucy's printouts to a fresh folder labeled November, Recovery, and added the detective's card I'd tucked there earlier. My voicemail to Detective Park stayed simple. This may become elder financial abuse. We're documenting. Please advise on thresholds. We'll bring biscuits. Light joke 3, I added. The lemon drop jar is now adverb control and bribe fund, and heard the weary smile in his recorded leave a message. Near dusk, Evan arrived with shoulders that had learned at least one new angle. I spoke with the brokerage, he said. No more transfers. They're sending a ledger. And he looked at the floor, then at me. I changed the password on my email and removed forwarding rules. I didn't realize. He let the sentence confess itself. Now you do, I said. We step on what we fix tomorrow. One person, one hand, one breath. We sat at my little table with tea that forgives and made the evening do something useful. A list of every autopay in his world. A calendar for when to glance at things. A shared note titled, No More We Without Names. It looked like home economics for grown people, which is just another way to say kindness. Before bed, I wrote today's card and taped it inside the cabinet where the philosopher's sink can critique it. Don't argue with glitches. Replace them. Build one clean account you can name in your sleep. Plant decoys only if you'll answer the alert. Be fair to necessities, be firm with theater. Influence is not currency at my table, receipts are. The sink approved with a single disciplined drip. I set the phone face down, the notebook right side up. And let sleep count me like tiny deposits. Small, regular, mine. Tuesday decides to use its inside voice. The blinds breathe, the kettle remembers the order, water, flame, patience. I lay the binder on the table and open a fresh plastic sleeve like a small door admitting daylight. Evan arrives with a laptop under his arm and contrition arranged neatly on his face. I brought a scanner app, he says, and apology granola. We decide both can help. We start with the bank PDFs Lucy printed yesterday. I write a date on each in a corner so the pages don't forget their birthdays. Evan logs into his email with the new password that learned to keep secrets. He pulls the monthly transfer confirmations. We slide them into the sleeve marked June-November, 10K out, on my side. I open my rent folder and slot in each canceled check image with its stamp: June, July, August Alagoy, September, October, November, to show my money's unremarkable path. Papering over confusion with more paper is not the goal. Papering over confusion with sequence is. Look at this, Evan says, frowning. My inbox shows that weird Marisit house support address CC'd on each monthly statement. But when I search my sent, I see forwarding rules created on June 2nd at 12:07 a.m. Forward any emails containing Maris and statement to maris.house.support. That's 5 minutes after the bank emailed me. He clicks the 3 dots that confess more than sorry voices ever do. Rule creator, Sloan. I take a small breath the way you take a small vitamin, on purpose. Screenshot, I say. He does. We print with the deliberate disrespect of people willing to inconvenience trees for justice. The screenshot goes into a sleeve titled Forwarding Rules. Beneath it, I tuck a second. A phone bill detail showing 3 text messages blocked by a do not disturb while driving filter at times when no one was in a car. She set my phone to auto-silence certain contacts, Evan says softly. Yours. Light joke 1. I'm flattered I could cause so much traffic, I say. Next time I'll send a seatbelt. Academic phrase of the day. Pattern evidence. The public argument that. While one accident can be dismissed. A sequence of related acts. Forwarding rules. CCs. Blocked contacts. Rerouted statements. Forms a narrative courts and clerks can understand without anyone raising their voice. Patterns reduce theater to arithmetic. We move to the household accounts charges. I highlight anything with an adjective. Wellness, premium, executive grooming, because adjectives like to spend your money as if it were auditioning. Then I star the nouns: rent equivalents, utilities, pharmacy, because those can be negotiated in good faith. I color the transfer to 7003 bridge. In a shade of orange, I reserve for things that pretend to be temporary while shopping for a forever home. Harbor Credit Union alert, I say. As my phone hums, the decoy email dings politely. Subject line: new login attempt from unknown device. Origin IP, a co-working space Sloan posts from. I do not smile because a trap is not a party. I screenshot, save, and forward to my new folder called Emergency Fund. Attempts with the note: saw you? Quirky sidebar, true. In 1984, the humble post-it note saved a Minnesota bank's audit when a clerk flagged a suspicious account with a yellow square that said simply, "Ask who authorized." The audit found an embezzlement ring. The moral wasn't paper is magic. It was small, sticky questions change expensive habits. I line up my sticky notes like bright little ethics. Evan calls the brokerage again on speaker. "Hi, this is Dr. Evan Hale," he says, voice steady. "I'm following up on case number 7712. There was an unauthorized transfer from an account titled for my mother to an account ending 7003. He listens, takes notes, and repeats back. Affidavit of unauthorized transfer, notarized, ledger emailed today. He thanks the rep. He says, please. Growing up is polite. I text Detective Park. New artifacts, email forwarding rule by spouse, block text filter, attempted login to decoy emergency fund, ledger inbound. He replies with a thumbs up and, document? Don't argue. If cash moved, we can charge. If only smoke moved, we warn. I offer biscuits. He sends a loaf emoji like a man who understands the importance of snacks to justice. Around midday, Sloan sends a PDF titled Clarification, Household, It's a collage of receipts with flirty captions. For mom's wellness. Helped her image. Ensured social thriving. She highlights a $620 silk scarf and writes, she admired this at Solange's. I have never been to Solange's. It sounds like a salon that charges for each syllable of your hair. I print the PDF and annotate in blue, not requested, not used, whose image. I paperclip it to Lucy's ledger and feel an ancestor in a pencil skirt nod over my shoulder. Light joke 2. I will start Thrift Solange in my studio. I tell Evan. First item, a scarf made of receipts. He smiles like a man who just learned humor can lower blood pressure. He pulls up his credit card portal next. And that's when the string we've been pulling suddenly becomes a sleeve. Here, June 3rd, he says. 2-factor authentication disabled for 7 days, he scrolls. That's when we were in Maui. I remember Sloan fixed my login on the patio. I said thank you and ordered another guava, something. He clicks. Re-enabled June 10. He looks at me, a little sick. The rules were set June 2nd at 12:07 a.m., the 2FA off June 3rd, the first transfer posted June 1st. It's all lined up. Pattern. Arithmetic. The kind of map a judge can read while eating a cracker. We let the kettle speak so nobody else has to. Tea arrives, boredom enters, the good kind that makes facts feel safe. I open a new sleeve labeled Timeline and slide in a 1-page grid. Date, action, proof, funeral, June 4, auto transfer created, June 2, forwarding rule created, June 3, 2FA off, June 5, florist subscription begins, July, pet spa charge, I own no pet, August, my rent delayed, USPS hold flagged, November, decoy login attempt, reply forthcoming from Sloan. It looks like a railway signboard that finally remembered it controls the trains. Evan checks my old voicemail you can only access by knowing the right polar bears. 3 deleted messages reappear. My landlord, friendly, puzzled. My primary care scheduler, missed you, new appointment. And Evan himself from July. Mom? Quick question about Sunday. Call me? He stares at the phone like it bit him months ago and only now is apologizing. She told me you needed rest, he says. I believed her. Elder wisdom. If someone asks you to reduce your hearing in order to increase your peace, hand them headphones and keep your ears. The door buzzes. June materializes with a Tupperware of something restorative and a portable scanner that purrs like a benevolent cat. Forensics, she says cheerfully. We feed pages to the scanner. Name files like accountants with a poetry degree. Forward rule 0602, USPS or hold 08, brokerage, wash case 7712. June adds a label maker to the party and slaps a tag on the binder spine. Thanksgiving, recovery, quiet. I forward the whole bundle, yes, the whole invented turkey, to Priya with a subject line she'll approve. Preliminary packet, potential elder financial abuse. Pattern evidence enclosed. She replies in minutes. Got it. This is a tidy rail. Next steps, demand letter to Sloan requesting repayment of non-necessities. Voluntary accounting within 7 days. Notice to brokerage and bank of dispute. Optional police report to timestamp intent. Also, keep that humor. Judges are human. The Harbor Credit Union pings again. New device attempted change to alert settings. Denied. Origin. Same co-working IP. I add the second screenshot to emergency fund, attempts, and write a note. Small but legible. Wolves dislike locked doors. Light joke 3, Evan says. Should we bait her with I forgot to lock it? I shake my head. We are not the internet. We are a binder. By evening, the Monday folder has become a Tuesday cabinet. In it, bank and brokerage proofs, forwarding receipts, USPS forms, landlord confirmations, blocked call logs, and Sloane's own clarification PDF under a tab titled Self-Incrimination, which is petty, but in a font that refuses to apologize. We stack the cabinet on the chair at the table, and the table inside a room that remembers how truth sounds when it doesn't try to perform. My phone buzzes with a final note from Sloane. This spiral is beneath you. Don't involve outsiders. I reply with one sentence of unseasoned oatmeal. Per counsel, all further communication in writing. Then I put my phone face down, my pen right side up, and write the day's card for the cabinet. Name the pattern. Theater hates math. Screenshots are small courthouses. Feed them dates. Forwarding rules tell on themselves. Decoys are bells. Answer when they ring. We will be fair about necessities and firm about the performance budget. I tape it inside the door near the philosopher's sink. The sink approves with exactly one drip. Then a dignified silence. Evan drinks his tea like a man who intends to be written down correctly. June labels the lemon drop jar adverb control and witness snacks. We clean the cups the way we mean to live, steady, recorded, kind. The blinds breathe again. The night decides to be helpful. Tomorrow will involve a detective, a letter with Rebecca Choi's signature, and my very best cardigan for "We are not here to make enemies, only ledgers." I set the binder on the chair nearest the door so morning won't have to ask where the work lives. By Thursday. The binder had stopped being a guest and started being furniture. Rebecca Choi, our attorney with vowels that file themselves, emailed a draft demand letter to Sloane. 7 days to account for all non-necessity charges, return of the bridge transfer, and a promise to stop impersonating my inbox. Detective Park scheduled a quick meet at the precinct for a time-stamped report. Biscuits accepted. Lemon drops admired. His pen moving like a metronome with a badge. By late afternoon, an invitation arrived that smelled like perfume and strategy. Sloane's annual Winter Radiance cocktail party, white font on ivory, RSVP required for security. She'd CC'd me and Evan, as if inclusion could launder arithmetic. I replied with a gentle yes. Sometimes the cleanest daylight is under chandeliers. The living room at their condo does what expensive rooms do, pretend to be effortless. A tree glittered with ornaments shaped like declarations. Servers drifted with trays of canapés destined to become confessions. I wore my quiet sweater and the calm that paperwork buys. Evan kept near the window, posture set to listen. I'd asked him to let me do the soft work. Sloane made her rounds in a dress that had its own non-disclosure agreement. "Maris," she said, air kissing the space between us. "So happy you came." Translation: "So bold of you to enter the room where my story rehearses." I drifted to the bar and ordered water the way people who sleep well do. On the mantel, a laptop streamed a slideshow of family highlights. Evan in scrubs, vacations with impossible horizons, my face twice, cropped generously between slides. I saw a screenshot flash, household statement, delivered. She'd meant it as evidence of generosity. The room didn't know it was a confession. Light joke 1. I thanked the bartender for the vintage hydration and tipped him a paperclip. "Office supplies are my currency," I said. He looked delighted to be paid in resistance. Across the room, 2 of Sloane's friends from Kincaid Social compared bracelets engraved with words like "thrive" and "curate." I introduced myself with a smile of grandmotherly blandness. "Maris," I said. "I'm testing a new feature for my bank tonight. Traceable delivery alerts. If a statement or login goes to the wrong place, it pings my phone with the IP printed like a return address on manners." I let the words be light, the way you set a bell near a cat and see which one moves first. One bracelet friend blinked. The other adjusted her clutch like it might confess. "Oh," she said, "that's advanced." She glanced toward the hallway where Sloane disappeared and returned wearing a grin that needed receipts. Rebecca's letter had gone out at noon. I suspected it had already begun tightening screws disguised as ribbon. on cue. Sloane tapped a fork to a crystal glass, lightly, like someone ringing for good PR. "Friends," she trilled. "We're grateful for community. We're supporting a shelter this season. Also, a tiny family update. Evan and I have been managing something for his mother. Bank chaos, but resolved. She is so gracious." I raised my water, the international sign for I'm civilized and also collecting exhibits. Academic phrase of the day, adverse inference. The public argument that if someone destroys or hides evidence, a court may assume the missing proof would have hurt them. You don't win by deleting, you teach the law to read negative space. During the applause that follows any speech with the word shelter, I slipped to the photo wall where Sloane had taped Polaroids for guests to sign. On the console sat a little gold-capped router humming like a guilty cricket. Next to it, a laptop logged into an email client bearing the Marist House support address. The screensaver blinked open, impatient with its owner's confidence. I do not touch computers at parties. That is a sacrament. I do, however, read titles on open tabs the way one reads labels on bottles near the sink. Rule, forward statement, transfer, Maris, alias, mom support, draft, response, clarification. I stood still long enough to memorize nouns. Quirky sidebar. True. Psychologists call it the cocktail party effect. The brain's talent for plucking your name from noise across a crowded room. The flip side is just as useful. Say a precise noun, case number, IP address, affidavit. And even people who don't like you will hear it land. Specificity travels farther than charm. Sloane found me by the router and smiled in the key of ownership. "We had to boost the Wi-Fi," she said. "So many guests." "Of course," I answered. Bandwidth collapses under adjectives. I lowered my voice to bedtime. Small update. Detective Park assigned a number today. If any statements go missing after tonight, his system pulls the route, like a breadcrumb trail, but with IPs. It's wonderfully boring. It was not a threat. It was a weather report. Her smile tugged at its stitching. Evan's colleague drifted over, Dr. Ortega. Not related to our shipyard friend, a different kind of steady. "Good to meet you, Ms. Gray," he said. "Evans told me about your binder. We need that in the OR. Put it on wheels and scrub it in." Light joke, too. "I only do laminating when not under anesthesia," I said. He laughed the laugh surgeons use when someone else brings competence into a room without a scalpel. At the far end of the condo, the buffet table had become a small theater where two planners, Sloane's allies from events, were telling a cautionary tale about clients who go official. I glided closer with the lazy gravitas of a cat who pretends she doesn't hear the can opener. "My favorite thing about going official," I murmured to no one in particular, "is the receipts. Judges like adjectives less than they like dates. I let judges do what it does to spines." And then asked the caterer if the salmon had an alibi. A notification tickled my phone. Harbor Fund, login attempt denied. IP, same co-working space. I texted the screenshot to Evan, Rebecca, and Detective Park with a small caption, "Bell rung." Park replied, "Logged, keep mingling." Here's the thing about parties. They are machines for ambient data. People cluster into theories. Laughter points like a compass at stories that require witnesses. I circulated gently, hearing versions of "Sloane is such a caretaker" and "Maris is lucky," when someone said, "She doesn't look like 10,000 a month." I let my sweater do its job. Remind the room that plain fabric can hold more truth than sequins. I repeated the same sentence 4 times. As if practicing scales, transfers are now landing in a single name account I control. We'll sort necessities from theater, and the rest will be returned. The 3rd repetition found a crack. A junior planner whispered. The bridge was real. She bragged she could float 10 grand without fingerprints. Then blushed like a child who has accidentally told daylight where the jar is kept. Evan joined me by the window. A quiet orbit. "She's saying you're embarrassing me," he said. "Am I?" "You're paying attention," I answered. "That's all the room gets tonight." Near 9, Sloane attempted a pivot. She presented me with a gift bag tied like a legal knot. "For your image," she said brightly. Inside, a silk scarf the color of denial and a boutique card for restorative blowouts. I held it like a museum item. "Thank you," I said. "I'll return it tomorrow and apply the refund to the bridge." People pretend not to hear. Rooms always do. Rebecca texted, "Process server delivered letter at 5:16 p.m. to your hostess. If she denies receiving, check mantle camera." I glanced up. A tiny black lens winked from the garland. Sloane, who loves documentation when she creates it, had invented her own witness. Academic phrase of the day, bonus, because the chandelier asked nicely. Spoliation. The public argument that destroying or altering evidence can cost you more than the truth ever would have. Tonight's router, tabs, and camera had all voted to be historians. Time to land the evening softly. I asked the pianist to play something that prefers complete sentences. He obliged with a waltz. I made a small toast to boring refunds and receipts that arrive where they're addressed. The room, reassured by grammar, clinked. Sloane's smile held. Her shoulders didn't. Elder wisdom. When someone hosts reality like a party, arrive with names and leave with dates. Compliment the lighting, then follow the wires. We said our goodnights the way cities say theirs. 2 elevators and a hallway that believes in carpet, in the lobby. Evan exhaled like a man who had carried a pack to the ridge and discovered the view is paperwork. "I kept expecting a fight," he said. "We brought a ledger," I replied. "Fights get lonely around ledgers." Back at my studio, I filed the night like a librarian who stores thunder. Into the binder went the Harbor Alert screenshot, attempt number 3. A photo of the Marisa House Talk support tabs, titles only. The party invitation with the RSVP time to establish a clock. And a sticky note that read simply, "Router on mantle, gold cap, ask Park to pull DHCP logs with a warrant if needed." I added the scarf receipt to a sleeve labeled "Returns to Source" and wrote a small grace on an index card. "We will be fair to necessities and uninterested in curated crisis." Light joke 3. I find myself a nickel from the adverb control jar for almost texting festively in a note to Rebecca. "We don't modify subpoenas with confetti," I muttered, and the philosopher Sink agreed. Before sleep, I wrote the cabinet card in slow ink. Parties amplify nouns. Bring the right ones. Say IP. Affidavit. Case number, rooms get sober. Do not touch devices, do record titles. If a gift says, "For your image," apply refund to facts. We will accept kindness. We will receipt performance. I taped it up. The building hummed its bland lullaby, somewhere above the lobby. A camera saved a file that didn't know whose side it was on yet, but understood it had a job. Tomorrow would be affidavits, a return at Solange's, and cocoa with Park while he wrote the kind of report that respects biscuits. Tonight. The binder slept with its spine facing the door like a watchman who prefers paper over swords. New Year's week behaves like a freshly sharpened pencil. Quiet point. Cedar patience. The binder sits on my table with the posture of furniture. Detective Park has our packet. Rebecca Choi has sent the demand letter plus a draft stipulation that would return what left without permission. Evan keeps bringing me groceries and apology granola, which is unnecessary but tastes like someone learning verbs. By Thursday, 2 emails arrive like opposite weather. First, from the brokerage. Affidavit received. Funds transferred from account ending 4421 to 7003 will be held and reversed, pending investigation. The words held and reversed feel like the staircase learned our mantra. Then, from Sloane. Family dinner at our place tomorrow. Beef Wellington. Let's be normal. I read it twice. Normal is an outfit that never fits until you hem it at the kitchen table. Evan texts, "Should we go?" I answer, "Yes, we'll bring our appetite and our nouns." Friday evening. Their condo smells like ambition wrapped in puff pastry. The tree is still up, blinking with the indifference of objects. I set my quiet sweater to low and bring the thin notebook labeled dates because holidays are when stories beg for sequence. We prefer stitches. We sit. The Wellington rests in its golden armor. Sloane pours a red wine that thinks in adjectives. "I'm glad we can be civilized," she says, as if she is auditioning for a commercial. "There's no need for escalation." "Escalators are for malls," I say in the bedtime voice. "We brought a staircase." I open the notebook to a page whose ink already knows what it wants. June 1st. Evan created a transfer. June 2nd. 12:07 a.m. Forwarding rule, Maris plus statement. To Maristis, house, support at your domain. June 3rd. 2FA disabled for 7 days during Maui. August. USPS hold. My rent delayed. November. 3 attempted logins to my Harbor Emergency Fund from your co-working IP. December, demand letter delivered at 5:16 p.m. and recorded by your mantle camera. Yesterday, brokerage hold and reverse. Sloane's smile can't find its choreography. "I told you, it was for her image," she says, aiming at the chandelier. "I was preventing mess." Academic phrase of the day. Constructive trust. The public argument that when someone holds money they shouldn't, through mistake, manipulation, or other creative verbs. The law treats them like a trustee who must give it back. You don't get to keep the shine just because you carried the box. Evan inhales, then puts his hands flat on the table, the newer habit we love. "You rerouted the emails," he says. "You turned off two-factor. You called the florist. You paid a broker. You silenced my mother's number. If you wanted order, you could have asked for it in daylight. I would have made the transfer to mom and still married you." He is not shouting, he is adding. Light joke 1. I pass him a lemon drop, the jar traveled in my tote, and say, "For any adverbs about to crash the scene." He smiles a quick apology to the English language and tucks the candy in his pocket like a newly minted boundary. Sloane cuts the Wellington with ceremony and strain. The pastry shatters in 2 places. "I didn't steal," she says. "I streamlined. Your mother has a vibe." She searches for a kind synonym and finds none that will let itself be printed. "My vibe is rent paid on time," I say. "Utilities reconciled. 1 good candle in January. That's it." I slide Rebecca's draft stipulation across the table. Here's the paper that lets us eat. Rebecca's language is polite without perfume. Within 7 days. Full accounting. Restitution of non-necessities. Florist, salon, wellness memberships. Boutique scarf. To the single name account. Reversal of the bridge money. No further changes to any account bearing my name or Evan's without our in-person approval. Cease email aliases, mom support, and the forwarding rules. Acknowledge Detective Park's case number in writing. Agree that any future gift references will arrive with receipts, not adjectives. Sloane stares at the page as if it asked her to move to a different planet, one with chairs and calendars. "You want me to sign this in my own house?" "Yes," I say, because houses like ink, floors hate drama. Quirky sidebar. True. Beef Wellington's origin story is as messy as puff pastry. Some say it honors the Duke who beat Napoleon. Some say it's just a British rename of France's bœuf en croûte made acceptable to English ears during wars. Food historians shrug, then reach for butter. My only Wellington fact that matters tonight: pastry should support its contents without collapsing. So should marriages. Evan pushes his plate away, appetite busy elsewhere. "I love you," he says to his wife. "But love doesn't get to be a password that bypasses my mother's rent. We can fix this with paper. We can't fix it with optics." She tries a new tactic: tears. They sit on her lower eyelids like pearls, unsure of the dress code. You don't understand the pressure, she whispers. People talk. Surgeons' wives. She doesn't say image because the word has exhausted itself. Elder wisdom. If the price of status is someone else's quiet suffering, it is too expensive. Buy chairs, not theater. Pressure likes signals, I say gently. Ours will be these. Rent paid by me. Transfers visible to me. Refunds calculated in daylight, and a public habit of saying, we'll email you the details. I tap the page. Sign, and we all get to be normal sooner. Evan slides a second document beside it, a simple notice to the property manager lifting Sloane's access to Evan's individual accounts. I've changed my passwords, he says. And I'm locking the orange folder in the office. I'll give you a key when you stop calling secrecy kindness. She doesn't reach for the pen. She reaches for the knife again, as if slicing protein could cut clauses. The knife refuses to become a statute. You're overreacting, she mutters. Detective Park's earlier text, if they say, overreact, you're on the right sentence, blinks in my memory like a small lighthouse. Evan looks at me, then at the page, then at his life. Sloane, he says, if you won't sign, you need to stay at your mother's for a week while we sort this. It's not punishment, it's to keep everything still. The status quo order for estates has a cousin for households. We can ask the court to freeze changes. She laughs in a shape that has heard itself from better actors. Evict me for bouquets? Light joke, too. The pet spa was my favorite, I say softly. We watered the plant ourselves. Silence chooses the room and sits in the host's chair. Sloane's shoulders sag in that human way grief and exposure make us honest. She puts down the knife, picks up the pen, and signs the stipulation. The signature looks like someone learning to print in public. I want counsel, she says. I'm not good at this. Good at this is dull, I answer. Dull pays dividends. We eat. Not like celebrants, but like mechanics who have just fitted a piece and want to see if the engine runs. It does. The pastry flakes without asserting its narrative. The meat tells a story about timing. We put dishes in the sink with our shared hands. Normal creeps back with its soft shoes. After dinner, Evan shows Sloane the binder, quietly, no triumph. This is what Mom built, he says. Screenshots, logs, receipts, it's why we don't have to scream. He kisses her forehead with the kind of love that agrees with rails. If you want to be married to me, be married to this, too. She nods, small and real. I'll send the accounting tomorrow. I'll call the salon. I'll write the florist. She laughs, one true broken sound. I thought I was managing a vibe. I was managing a crime. No, I say. You are managing fear with someone else's wallet next time. Manage fear with a list. We leave them with their dishes and their papers. In the elevator. Evan breathes the elevator breath. Up, down, up, down. We did that without yelling, he says, surprised by our own steadiness. We did it with nouns, I say. Nouns are the opposite of yelling. Back in my studio. The philosopher's sink inquires about the evening with its one small drip. I pour tea over that elegant question. The phone pings. Email from Sloane. Subject line in the new dialect. Per stipulation accounting by noon. I forward it to Rebecca and Park with a note that contains no adverbs. Rebecca replies with a thumbs up made of case law. Park, if funds hit, I'll place a courtesy freeze on the boutique while reversing completes. I put the scarf from Solange's on the chair with a return label. We'll let it lose its sheen under store lighting where it belongs. I write the day's card. Pen deliberate. The law can make a trust out of your worst impulse and hand it back to its owner. Marry rails, not image. Pastry should support meat, not hide it. If someone calls you overreacting it on, check that your verbs are calm and your nouns are plural. Proceed. We do boring now, so Tuesday can be gentle. Light joke 3. I drop a quarter in the adverb control jar for almost writing magnificently boring. June will collect it like a tax that saves marriages. I tape the card inside the cabinet. The binder rests its spine against the door like a sentinel who has finally been given a chair. Outside, stray fireworks test the air. Inside, everything with a name has learned its place, and the kettle approves in steam you can't photograph, but you can feel on your face. Quiet luck. Earned. Saturday arrives with the temperament of a courthouse stare. Supportive. A little echo. No appetite for drama. Rebecca Choi texts at 8:12. Accounting received. Significant non-necessities. Drafting stipulation plus proposed judgment. Can you both be at my office 11 a.m.? Evan sends on my way with a new habit I adore. No exclamation points near legal nouns. Rebecca's conference room smells like paper that lives responsibly. Sloane sits already, attorney beside her. A woman whose suit reads fluent in consequences. No perfume, no melted smile. Good signs. Rebecca lays out 3 stacks like place settings. 1. Necessary spend. Utilities in my name. 2 pharmacy receipts. 2. Performance budget. Florist subscription. Restorative blowouts. Wellness club. Scarf. 3. Bridge transfer to 7003. She places a 4th sheet above the plates. Timeline of access manipulations. Forwarding rule. 2FA off. USPS hold. Harbor logins. Mantle camera timestamp. Here is where we are. Rebecca begins. Voice set to ASMR for ledgers. We can settle civilly today. My proposal. A stipulated judgment with immediate partial restitution and secured obligations for the rest. If you comply, we don't chase. If you default. Judgment bites without a second trip to court. Academic phrase of the day. Stipulated judgment. The public argument that both sides can agree on a judgment the court signs now. So there's nothing left to argue later. It's a promise with teeth stored at the clerk's desk. You obey, the teeth nap. You don't, they wake. Sloane's lawyer nods. We've reviewed. My client will agree to return all performance budget items, repay the bridge in full, and accept a lien on her car to secure the balance. She says lien like a softly closed drawer. Rebecca slides over a checklist. Wire the florist refunds to my new single name account, cancel salon membership, and send written confirmation. Reverse wellness club charges. Return scarf by Tuesday and deliver receipt. Authorize brokerage reversal of the bridge. Transfer title of the German sedan as collateral until repayment completes. Turn over the jewelry specified on Exhibit B. 2 items, insurance listed, to a neutral jeweler for sale with proceeds net to restitution. And, my favorite line, discontinue use of any email alias or forwarding rule referencing Maris and provide proof of deletion. Light joke 1. I lift my pen and whisper, imagine an email address called maris.nope, buy it forever. And Rebecca finds me a nickel into the adverb control jar she now keeps in her briefcase. Courtroom compatible humor only, she murmurs, smiling. Evan signs first, where acknowledged lives. Sloane signs next, where agreed refuses to be pretty. The ink looks like it had to breathe between letters. That's fine. Breathing is a moral upgrade. Quirky sidebar. True. Blue ink isn't just a stationary affectation. Many clerks prefer it because it photographs clearly and distinguishes originals from copies at a glance. Black can masquerade. Blue says, I'm wet ink and recently alive. We sign in blue. The page looks freshly human. Because the bridge funds transited a brokerage. Rebecca continues. We're also opening an escrow for restitution. Money goes in. Rules stand guard. It comes out only to repay what left and to cover fees related to returning what never should have been purchased in the first place. She taps the clause with a little tidy nail. No image allocations. Sloane swallows and nods. I'll deliver the scarf today. Her attorney squeezes her forearm like a lighthouse. Brief, honest. We break for signatures, scans, and a small, dignified silence while the copier warms the room. Evan slips me a lemon drop under the table like a kid passing a note in class. The note says, "Still here. Still learning verbs." Rebecca returns with court-ready packets and an itinerary that feels like a kindness. From here, courthouse for the judge's signature, DMV for the liens on temporary title transfer, boutique for return, jeweler for intake, then home to email confirmations into the folder titled Restitution, Live. She glances at Sloane's counsel, and your office will file an affidavit confirming deletion of all aliases and rules, screenshots included, today. We walk out together, 4 adults, 1 binder, a jar that eats adverbs. In the elevator, Sloane says in a voice that remembered humanity, "I'm embarrassed." I keep mine in its bedtime lane. Embarrassment is a good babysitter for bad habits, I say. Let it work. At the courthouse. The judge signs with the quiet gravity I want for bridges and wills. The clerk stamps the stipulation. The sound is a tiny door closing and locking. No clang. Just certainty. Evan watches like a man witnessing his first sunrise not filtered through someone else's camera. DMV is DMV. Fluorescent honesty. Velvetless ropes. A poster reminding people we evolved thumbs for forms. The lean papers swallow the sedan politely. Sloane's signature walks the line between pride and relief. At Solange's. I surrender the scarf. The associate, lipstick that could represent itself in court, offers store credit. Refund to original source only, I say, pointing to the clause. She rings it as if she's been asked to baptize fabric back into currency. The receipt prints. Unglamorous. Perfect. We slide it into the sleeve labeled Returns to Source. The boutique's mirror captures us all. A woman who likes rails. A man who has chosen nouns. A wife learning to treat accounting as affection. 2 lawyers who sell gravity. And a scarf that never belonged to my neck. The jeweler is a small museum for objects that once believed themselves stories. We hand over Exhibit B, a bracelet and a ring Sloane insured in a burst of optimism. The intake clerk photographs, logs, and issues a consignment receipt with language so calm it could babysit. Proceeds net of commission will be wired per this account routing, he says. The words per and routing, side by side. Make my pulse lower, a medical intervention via prepositions. Light joke too. I tell Evan I'll knit us both sweaters that say peer routing across the chest. He says he will wear his to the OR. I suggest bumper stickers for scalpel trays. We do not laugh loudly. We are in a little church of stones entering humility. Back home. The inbox starts behaving like a trained spaniel. Subject lines arrive with verbs. Confirmation, salon cancelled, receipt, florist refunds, deletion proof, aliases removed, brokerage, reversal initiated. We screenshot. We save to restitution, live. We do not hold a news conference. We hold a posture. Detective Park texts. Got your stipulation, nicely fenced. Send me jeweler receipt and boutique refund if reversal clears. I'll hold criminal charges in abeyance. Your call. I reply, hold, but keep case open. If any more IP breadcrumbs appear, we bake. He replies with a loaf emoji. I send biscuits as promised. Elder wisdom, today's reflection. An apology you can deposit is worth more than an adjective that wins brunch. Call it restitution. Give it rails. Let it arrive where the invoice lives. We break for something that isn't legal. Soup, bread, the ordinary love of not performing. Sloane eats quietly, after. She opens her mouth and finds a new sentence. I'll meet with a counselor about why image felt like safety. She looks at Evan, then at me. I will send you my calendar invite. Not to perform, to be witnessed. Witnessing is free, I say. Performance charges a hidden fee. She nods, wins the small prize of being understood, and leaves with her attorney to complete the DMV loop. Quirky sidebar, true. The paperclip, humble hero, also served as a quiet symbol of resistance in Norway during World War II, worn on lapels to say, "We hold together." I slide one onto the corner of the restitution, live folder, a tiny metallic amen. Evening lays itself across the studio like a page ready for one more tidy line. Evan helps me set up a new ritual, the Friday reset, 15 minutes to open the binder. Tick marks for the week, 3 receipts named, 1 thank you note written, today's to Lucy at First Seaside Bank for the Speak to Me flag. He programs a monthly calendar reminder. Check forwarding rules, verify 2FA, wave at harbor alerts. He grins, shy and proud. I like rails, he says. They keep my hands good. Light joke 3. I award him a gold paperclip, our family's new medal, for performing boredom with grace. He pins it to his scrubs and promises to sterilize his sense of humor. Before bed. Rebecca emails the court-stamped PDF with a subject line that could tuck me in. Filed. Stipulated judgment. Restitution schedule. I print a copy on paper that likes toner and slide it into the front pocket of the binder. The philosopher's sink gives a single, booming drip, the way old radiators applaud, and then rests. I write the card for the cabinet in slow ink that doesn't need a soundtrack. Sign in blue, live in plain. Escrow is a fence where money learns manners. Stipulated judgment, a promise with teeth you hope will sleep. Refund to source, return the scarf to its mirror, trade jewels for groceries. An apology that pays a bill is a better candle than any boutique can sell. I tape it inside the door. The binder sits like a small, patient sentry. The kettle hums the lullaby of water that will be tea tomorrow. Outside. Someone's fireworks forget their paperwork and fizzle politely. Inside, our rails hold, not with spectacle, with receipts. Monday rises like a clean docket. No confetti, just lines waiting for ink. The binder breathes on the table. The court-stamped stipulation naps in the front pocket like a well-fed cat. At 9:14 a.m., Detective Park calls in his current weather voice. Morning, Miss Gray, 2 updates, 1 good, 1 motivating. Start with good, I say, because my kettle prefers optimism. Brokerage reversal landed, he says. Funds are back in your single-name account. Paperwork matched up fast. Your blue ink signatures were photogenic. He pauses, respectful. The motivating, we subpoenaed router logs from the condo building. Your hostess is a believer in smart devices. The mantle camera and the gold cap router sang the same song. We can trace 3 login attempts to your Harbor account and the email forwarding rule creation back to their condo IP. That moves this from smoke to cash. I'm filing elder financial abuse and unauthorized access charges today. We'll schedule a voluntary surrender. She'll be arraigned and released on her own recognizance if counsel cooperates. No spectacle. I stir tea like it's a metronome for my pulse. Understood, I say. We choose verbs, no theater. After I hang up, I text Evan and Rebecca. Park is filing. Voluntary surrender recommended. We keep posture, not pitchforks. Light joke 1. I set a lemon drop beside the phone and tell it. For adverbs that try to coach you. The phone does not eat candy, but it improves its tone. By noon, Rebecca pings. Defense counsel notified. Turning themselves in at 3 p.m. Judge has the stipulation. Will align restitution schedule with court dates. Evan replies. Thank you. I'll bring granola for morale. I send back. Granola is the Switzerland of snacks. Academic phrase of the day. Alford plea. The public argument that a defendant may plead guilty while maintaining innocence because the evidence would likely convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Courts accept it sometimes. Families shouldn't. We prefer verbs that match. At 2:57, I walk 2 blocks to the precinct with a small tin of biscuits and a posture that does not audition. Park meets me in the lobby. His pen has already started its paperwork ballet. Sloane arrives with counsel, no lipstick, no chandelier. She moves like a person who has met nouns she cannot flatter. Fingerprints, charging sheet, a quick photo in lighting that forgives nothing. Park keeps his voice on the temperature of January. Miss Kincaid, you'll receive your court date within 10 days. Violations include Penal Code 368D, elder theft, and 502C, unauthorized access. You will not contact Miss Gray outside counsel. She nods. Her counsel nods. No one performances. Everyone agrees to calendars. Evan is not there. That is on purpose. He is at the jeweler finishing consignment details and sending Rebecca the wire receipts for the first chunk of restitution. We divided the labor because dignity travels better when it's explicitly scheduled. Back home. I open my Restitution Live folder and name files like bedtime prayers, brokerage reversal posted, florist refund batch 1, salon cancellation confirmed, jeweler intake, court notice, surrender. The Philosopher's Sink offers one dignified drip. June appears with the label maker like a fairy godmother for paperwork and plasters the folder spine with per routing. No adjectives. I decide the girl deserves sainthood. Quirky sidebar, true. Thermal paper receipts, the shiny ones, are written with heat, not ink. They fade when exposed to sunlight. Pockets, time, and contempt. If you need them to outlive an argument, scan them within a week and store PDFs. Otherwise, your proof becomes a ghost that swears it used to be legible. At 4, Sloane's email arrives through Rebecca. No contest. Her lawyer writes the phrase that smells like bowls of compromise. We are exploring a plea in which my client does not admit guilt but accepts conviction to spare all parties a trial. Rebecca forwards with a single line. They're heading for an Alford-style posture. Your call how much narrative you need. I reply, courts may accept, my kitchen won't. We'll keep the civil rails and let the criminal court name the noun, family narratives, pause. Evan stops by 2 hours later with a bag of ridiculous strawberries and eyes that have learned the economy of sentences. First wire hit, he says. Jeweler's optimistic. Florist refunded 2 months. Salon 3. Counselor booked. She sent the calendar invite like you asked. He pauses at the doorway where we used to hang science fair posters. Park, file charges. I didn't know how I'd feel. It's not satisfying. It's necessary. Necessary is how chairs feel, I say. You don't cheer when they hold. You sit. We eat strawberries with a seriousness they didn't request. Then we practice what people do when they intend to let consequences do their work without becoming a second court. We walk. 2 blocks of January air that could trim a narrative. Evan points at the hardware store window, where a display of gleaming hinges holds court under a sign that says, Honest Metal. That's my aesthetic now, he says. Honest metal. Light joke, too. Mine is honest paper, I answer. Our collaboration will live at Staples. That night, Park emails a copy of the complaint. I read each count like I'm listening to a choir that sings only in nouns. He's careful. Dates, IPs, amounts, affected accounts. The forwarding rule description. The mantle camera timestamp. He lists my age because the law needs it to define the crime. I let the number sit without asking for adjectives. The last line is exactly the lullaby I wanted. This complaint is filed to ensure the return of funds, prevent further harm, and uphold process. He writes like a man who has eaten my biscuits. He has. Elder wisdom. Tonight's reflection. Consequences are not revenge. They are the fences that keep tomorrow from inheriting yesterday's shortcuts. When offered a choice between a dramatic apology and a boring repayment plan, pick the one with dates. By Wednesday. Court dates slot into calendars. Rebecca maps a Venn diagram of civil and criminal. Restitution continues per stipulation. Criminal case marches along its rails. If she completes repayment, Rebecca says, we'll tell the DA, judges like a ledger that behaves. I establish new habits where adrenaline used to insist on a starring role. Friday reset continues. Tick marks. 3 named receipts. 1 thank you note, today, to Parks clerk for answering my questions like a human. I add a Monday micro audit, 10 minutes to search my name plus support on my email filters. Confirm 2 FAA, and wave at the harbor alert log like a neighbor. The rituals are so boring I feel virtuous paying attention to them. I suspect this is the point. A week later. Arraignment. We do not attend, we bake. I set out cookies labeled OAT forward and procedural and send a plate to Park with a sticky note. Escrow for your sweet tooth. He replies with a photo of the plate at the evidence window. Unconsumed but logged, as if even sugar needs a chain of custody. The caption, lawful cookies. Academic phrase of the day, bonus, because the DA's office earned extra credit. Restorative justice. The public argument that repairing harm. Restitution. Apology with specifics. Change behavior. Can serve a community better than maximizing punishment. It's not a free pass. It's a different rail. In our house. That rail is labeled, pay back what you took. Learn in daylight. Keep showing up with receipts. A small thing happens that doesn't make news but matters. My landlord drops a handwritten note through my mail slot. Your December and January on time. As always, he writes. Thank you for the fruitcake. It was edible, which is high praise. I tape it inside the cabinet like a certificate of returned normal. Light joke 3. June finds me a nickel for almost describing the fruitcake as defiantly edible. She relabels the jar, adverb control and witness tips. We giggle like citizens who trust the budget committee. By the end of the month. The restitution, live, folder has lost drama and gained pages. It feels like a pension. Careful, steady, kind to the future. Evan starts using my scripts to teach 2 residents at the hospital how to read their pay stubs and spot mystery withholdings. He texts me, proud and bashful, started tiny harbor hour in the break room, brought paper clips. I send a photo of my own paperclip lapel and write, we hold together. I close the night with 1 new card for the cabinet. Written in the slow hand, I save for truth that needs no glitter. Reversals landed, charges filed, rails hold. We accept boring as a love language. No contest may be a legal lane. My table prefers named regrets and paid invoices. Scan thermal receipts before they forget themselves. Honest metal, honest paper. Bring both to Tuesday. The bell inside me, small, brass, reasonable, rings when the hallway breathes. The plant enjoys the future breaker's nightlight. I rinse 2 cups. I stack 2 plates. Tomorrow. Restitution installment 3. Next week. A court date where verbs will be called and asked their full names. Tonight. I let the ocean of a quiet building hum its bureaucracy around me. We are ordinary here, on purpose. The ledger closes with a soft-spoken click. February leans in like a kindly librarian. Cardigan weather, quiet rules, pencils that don't need to be sharp to be useful. Restitution installment 3 lands with a little chirp. Detective Park emails a line that sounds like a yawn with a badge. Funds received per stipulation. Next date calendared. I reply with a biscuit emoji and pay my rent without performing. The binder rests. Not retired, just promoted to a steady job. It turns out ordinary is the luxury I was budgeting for. Today I move. Not across the country, just across town. From my 160 square foot studio to a sunny 1-bedroom with a window that practices optimism on command. Evan shows up with 2 boxes and the expression men wear when they're about to be asked to lift a piano and are hoping it's a lamp. Light, I say, tapping the top. Heavy with receipts, but light. We tour the new space the way you say hello to a dog that might love you. Living room, square, brave. With a face that remembers good rugs. Kitchen, a sink less philosophical, more managerial. Bedroom, a window that grins. I set the binder on the counter and the lemon drop jar labeled adverb control on a shelf beside the tea. Promotion, I tell the jar. Less courtroom, more kitchen. It approves by existing. Light joke 1. Evan lifts the plant and says solemnly, future, reporting for duty. We both salute the tiny breaker in our hearts. I unpack the house charter and tape it inside the pantry, label circuits, no temporary, without a date. Back row clap on request. Panic submits comments in writing after business hours. I add a new line for the room to memorize. Sundays are for soup and small verbs. Evan nods like he can feel his heartbeat choose a quieter metronome. Academic phrase of the day. Social proof. The public argument that we take cues from the people around us. If your neighbors choose calm, chairs, and receipts, you'll likely sit down and count to 10 before doing something with adjectives. We're inventing neighbors for this new room. Noel with his scanner, Rebecca with her tidy verbs, Park with lawful cookies, June with labels that soothe. Boxes are not heavy when you've curated your life down to tools. A tea kettle, 2 mugs, 3 mixing bowls that believe in stew. I line the bowls like matryoshkas of comfort. Evan hangs a small pegboard that will keep the colander from auditioning as a decor choice. He holds the level, I hold the pencil. We are a machine, he says, that installs rails. We break for a walk to the second-hand shop, where I buy a chair that remembers shoulders. The tag says $20 and the name Gladys in ballpoint pen under the seat. Quirky sidebar, true. Mid-century office chairs were sometimes stamped with women's names because the factory floor needed to track whose station assembled which part. It was accountability disguised as familiarity. When you sat on someone's diligence. I like sitting on diligence. Gladys rides home in the trunk like a queen without ceremony. Back at the apartment, I start the guide I promised myself I would write when my anger learned to file. Title, Harbor Hour, Senior Edition. Subtitle, Scripts, Paperclips, and small verbs for big days. I begin with the chapter my bones want most. If someone says we voted about your money, then speak to me flags. 2-factor or it didn't happen. How to read a statement without falling asleep, and how to ask a bank clerk to slow down without apologizing. June sends a photo of a paperclip shaped like a heart and texts. Too much? I reply. Adorable. But we stick with the gem style. Quiet jobs need quiet shapes. Evan assembles a bookshelf with the patience of a man practicing his vows. I told 2 residents about forwarding rules today, he says, tightening what ought to have been tight from the factory. I used your line, forwarding rules tell on themselves. They laughed and then changed their settings. He slides the last shelf into place. I think Harbor Hour could fit in the hospital break room. Cookies as bribery, scripts as discharge instructions for your wallet. Bring paperclips, I say. People believe in what they can hold. I write into the afternoon's hush. Dear clerk, one script starts. I won't be signing today. Please email me the full proposal with dates and amounts I'll review with my family. Another, hi, detective. I think this might be elder financial abuse. I have dates, screenshots, and an index of attempts. I will bring biscuits. I add one for U.S. Postal Counter moments of doubt. Hi, could you add in-person authorization to any forwarding changes to my address? I like knowing where my envelopes sleep. The guide grows in tidy squares. The plan supervises like a benevolent accountant. Light joke 2. I text Park to ask if lawful cookies should be oat forward or neutral. He replies, law is flavor agnostic, chain of custody, not chain of cinnamon. It's possible my detective has learned our dialect. Evening lands like a well-placed period. Evan stays for soup, the kind that forgives quantities. We christen the Sunday plan on a Tuesday, because calendars only boss you the way you permit. We eat, we leave the bowls in the sink without asking them to perform, and we practice what we want this apartment to remember after meals. We don't litigate feelings. We stack dishcloths and say nouns. Rug, I say, pinning a note to myself to find one that earns the square. Lamp, he says, pointing at the corner where shadows are rehearsing disobedience. Sloane emails a scan of a therapist's appointment card. It arrives without adjectives. She adds a sentence that doesn't argue with its own shoes. Per stipulation, I've scheduled bi-weekly. I will send copies of refunds on Fridays. It is not friendship. It is the bridge we can both stand on without handrails that need applause. Elder wisdom. Home isn't a room that forgives you for forgetting the trash. Home is the set of rituals that make forgetting unlikely. The list by the door. The rent autopay you can explain. The Sunday soup. The chair you sit in when panic wants to tell you a story and you tell it to make tea instead. The next harbor hour happens in the community room at the library. We bring our kit, pens, paper clips, adverb control in full. The two-sentence civility taped near the urn that makes coffee no one enjoys but everyone respects. 3 widowers show up, each carrying a folder of mysteries. 2 adult daughters arrive with pencil skirts and the determination that solves crimes. 1 grandson arrives because he found a hold mail notice taped to his nana's door and didn't like its handwriting. We open with 1 person, 1 hand, 1 breath, because it trains the room to do verbs instead of adjectives. We pass out a 1-page handout I call the 3 smells: urgent, secret, flattering. People nod like the backs of their necks just learned something useful. Noel shows them the shared inbox, boring, glorious. And Rebecca translates a clause into dishwashing English. If anyone moves the plates while you're washing your hands, call the adult with the towel. Park, off duty, brings lawful cookies in a Ziploc and a promise. If it's criminal, I'll say the word. If it's civil, I'll point you to rails. We clap like weather. The room likes us for not making it a talent show. Quirky sidebar, true. The original librarian's charging tray, a box with borrower cards, was a pre-computer chain of custody. You could look in and see who had what. When. I bring a little wooden recipe box labeled Loans and Living and show how to track who has your spare key. Emergency contact, logins to shared utilities, even who borrows your ladder. People gasp the way citizens gasp in a good civics class. Relieved it's learnable. On Sunday, the first real Sunday. Evan arrives with a rug rolled under his arm like a concertina. We measure, mutter, place, adjust. The rug lays its shoulders down obediently. We need a bell, he says. Not a church bell, a hallway bell, for sentences like, we'll email you that, and pair contract, and an I don't sign today. We find one at the thrift store by 3 p.m. Brass, forgetful. Perfect. It hangs by the door like a pact with the future. Light joke 3. I announce the bell's name is Gladys, in honor of the chair. We are building a pantheon of ordinary saints, Evan says. Their miracles involve seating and stamps. We ring Gladys, once, because we can. The court sends a new date. I mark it in pencil first, then in pen when I'm ready. Sloane's counselor sends a letter, release signed, confirming attendance. Restitution installment 4 lands on a Thursday without fanfare. The jeweler's first wire posts. I label it peer rooting in the folder Spine's font. In the hospital break room. Evan's Harbor Hour teaches a nurse from oncology how to set up Speak to Me flags. She sends us a selfie with a paperclip lapel and a caption, We hold. I sit in my quiet chair in my new room and write the day's card for the inside of the pantry. Where soup can read it. Sundays are for soup and small verbs. Harbor Hour lives wherever a table, a pen, and a chair agree to be neighbors. Teach one person what you learned while you still remember how it felt to not know. If a request smells urgent, secret, or flattering, ring Gladys and fetch the binder. Ordinary is the luxury you were saving for. I tape it up. Lay the pen down like it did something noble, and watch the window keep its promise to brighten on command. The plant approves. The breaker labeled Future hums a small, lawful note. I rinse 2 bowls. I set them upside down to drain. Somewhere in the building. A neighbor laughs. Somewhere in a courthouse. A clerk files a page that lets 3 other pages avoid becoming dramatic. We are fine in the correct sense of the word. Not sparkly. Not elaborate. Just adequate. Sufficient. Enough. Sunday morning arranges itself like a tidy checklist. Sun on the sill. Kettle doing its quiet prelude. The binder sitting upright as if it has tenure. The plant is thriving under the future breaker. Gladys, the doorbell gleams like a small brass boundary. Today isn't dramatic. It's consequential. We promised that when the rails held. We'd write down what stays. Evan arrives balancing a bakery box and a hardware store bag. Rug sliders, he says, grinning, and muffins that think they're moral support. He sets the box down and touches the house charter taped inside the pantry, reading it like a psalm. Label circuits, no temporary without a date. Back row clap on request. Panic submits comments in writing. He adds the line we drafted last week in pencil and now copy in pen. Harbor Hour happens even if only 3 chairs show up. We're hosting the first library session under the new banner, Harbor Hour, Senior Edition. Noel prints the handouts. Speak to me flags. Forwarding rules tell on themselves. 2-sentence civility. Rebecca brings a stamp that says, received like a lullaby. And Detective Park, off-duty and free of epaulets, promises lawful cookies. June packs the adverb control jar and the paper clips that hold together small countries. Before we go, Evan checks his calendar. Court tomorrow, he says, voice level. Restitution installment 5 already scheduled. He points at the lemon drop jar, then at his throat, for safekeeping. We walk to the library through air that behaves. The community room knows us now. Folding tables that have seen their share of fundraisers. Chairs that forgive posture. A bulletin board where someone has pinned our 2-sentence civility next to a flyer for chair yoga. 8 people arrive, then 4 more. Then a man who says he just wandered in, clutching a stack of envelopes like a lifeboat. We pass pens. We pass confidence by the sheet. Academic phrase of the day. Capacity with supports. The public argument that even when stress or age makes decisions harder. You can add rails, checklists, trusted witnesses, cooling off periods, so the person's own choice still steers. We aren't declaring incompetence, we're declaring infrastructure. I open with the stare rule. 1 person, 1 hand, 1 breath, translated for paper, 1 claim, 1 date, 1 receipt. A widow in a lavender coat nods and says, so I get to tell my nephew, email me without being a bad aunt? Yes, I say, you get to be a deliberate aunt. Park teaches the room to love nouns, dates, amounts. Who made the change? Noel demonstrates the shared inbox. Rebecca rewrites temporary authorization into, please show me the calendar it lives on. June finds me a nickel when I almost say swiftly. And the room laughs like a kettle reaching boil, the good kind. The kind that means tea. Quirky sidebar, true. Library cards used to have a little metal plate at the bottom, an addressograph, that let clerks stamp a borrower's info onto a slip in one satisfying clunk. It wasn't glamorous. It prevented misspellings, which prevented lost books, which prevented arguments. Civilization is a stack of tiny, deglamorized clunks. We demonstrate our modern clunks. Email filters set to no forwarding without a question. Bank alerts that ping like polite crickets. The Harbor accounts push notifications that arrive with the IP printed like a return address on manners. Halfway through, the man with the lifeboat envelope steps up. My niece says we voted I should put the house in a temporary holding. He grimaces. We are not a committee. We hand him a script. I will not be signing today. Please email me the full proposal with dates and a list of who is responsible. He reads it aloud, then smiles like a man who just discovered leverage that doesn't need volume. Light joke 1, I tell the room. If anyone brings a temporary without a calendar, we keep a small museum of returned pens for them to admire. Even Park laughs, quietly, lawfully. Back home. We hang the new Harbor Hour flyer on my fridge beside the house charter. Evan unboxes a little wall clock with huge, friendly numbers and says, "For Sunday soup." We test the bell. Gladys, 1 ring. Test the stove, obedient. Test the chairs, they remember shoulders. Sloane's email arrives via Rebecca. Per court, I'll complete installment 5 tomorrow. Counseling continues on Thursdays. I'll send confirmation. It's not warm, it's aligned. I print it, staple it to the restitution, live stack, and feel something like mercy that doesn't excuse but does exhale. Tomorrow's hearing is brief, status, not spectacle. Rebecca will speak in the church, voice judges enjoy. Park will nod at nouns. I will hold my binder and think about soup. Evan asks, "Do you want me there?" "I want you at the hospital Harbor Hour," I say. "Teach the residents the 3 smells: urgent, secret, flattering." He salutes with a muffin. Aye. Afternoon becomes a little ceremony for ordinary. We oil the porch rail. Calendar says equinox, but our hands say today. We label the breaker for the new lamp. Living, south. Evan writes rent in my planner, even though it's autopay. Ritual is how you greet the thing you don't want to forget. I start a pot of Sunday stew and invite sentences that can wear slippers. We'll email you that. Per contract. I don't sign today. Gladys approves with a polite ding. Light joke 2. June texts a photo of a novelty mug, world's okayest plaintiff, and asks if it breaks our brand. We are aggressively okay, I reply. Approved. After dinner, we visit the wharf for a sunset that minds its edges. Ortega, shipyards, not scrubs, texts a photo of hydration tents gleaming like tiny chapels. Beneath it, per your visit, no near misses this month. I forward it to the Harbor Hour list with the subject line, Boring Miracles, January. People reply with thumbs and 3-word testimonies. Dad closed account. Aunt said email. Grandma loves paper clips. Elder wisdom. Tonight's reflection. If your peace depends on other people never pressuring you, it will be a fragile peace. If your peace depends on rails you can reach for in the dark, scripts, calendars, receipts, it will be a peace you can share. Evening leans in. The plant approves of its corner like a supervisor. Evan cleans bowls, stacking them the way we stack days now, flat, reliable, unglamorous. Do you ever wish we had done something dramatic? He asks, smiling with half his face. I did, I say. It's called my 20s. We laugh, the sleepy laugh of people who have outlived choreography. A last email plinks. The court calendar confirming tomorrow's appearance. 2 lines long and beautiful for it. I tuck it into the front sleeve behind the stipulated judgment and write 1 more card for the pantry. We choose rails over charisma. Harbor Hour happens even for 3 chairs. Temporary must show its calendar. We oil the rail when hands say so. Ordinary is the point. Light joke 3, I drop a nickel in the jar for calling the muffins morally supportive. and June, hearing it through the wall like only June can. Texts back a nickel emoji. Before bed. I sit a moment in Gladys the chair, saint of shoulders, and press the recorder. Yes. We still have Victor's habit for one last noting. We made a home out of receipts, I say. We kept nouns. We taught neighbors. We didn't sprint. The room listens. The breaker hums. The bell waits for the hallway to breathe. Tomorrow, we'll step on what we've fixed again. One person. One hand. One breath. A judge will glance at tidy pages. A clerk will stamp a quiet yes. And somewhere a nephew will send an email instead of a speech. The ocean, out there past our little town, will keep counting without asking us for adjectives. We will let it, and we will choose Tuesday. The story began with a Thanksgiving whisper that shouldn't have needed volume. Mom, are you enjoying my $10,000 payments? Maris, small apartment, large patience, answered with paper instead of panic. Her son Evan had set up transfers for Mom. But those funds landed in a joint household account Sloan controlled. Statements rerouted to a custom email, forwarding rules built in the dark. Two-factor turned off during Maui. Maris moved slowly and thoroughly. Bank, speak to me, flags, USPS logs. A clean single-name account. A decoy emergency fund whose alerts rang like small, helpful bells. The binder grew. Dates, screenshots, receipts, until it could hold a room without raising its voice. At a glittering winter radiance party, nouns traveled farther than charm. IPs, affidavits, case numbers. Rebecca Choi's demand letter arrived at 5:16 p.m., filmed by Sloan's own mantle camera. Detective Park pulled router logs that matched failed logins and forwarding rules. A stipulated judgment, blue-inked and sleepy on purpose, returned what left without permission. Florist refunds, salon cancellations, wellness charges reversed, scarf back to its mirror, brokerage transfer reversed, jewels consigned. Sedan leaned until restitution completed. Criminal charges followed. Elder financial abuse and unauthorized access filed quietly, without spectacle. Sloan chose counseling and compliance. Evan chose rails and steady amends. The house learned rituals. Friday resets, Monday micro audits. A bell named Gladys for phrases like per contract and I don't sign today. The company, and then the town, learned boredom on purpose. Hydration tents, shared inboxes. 2-sentence civility taped near weak coffee. Harbor Hour, senior edition, taught neighbors to love receipts. Smell, urgent, secret, flattering, and ask clerks to speak in timestamps. Ordinary became the luxury. Future got its own breaker. In the last light, nothing exploded. Restitution landed. Calendars held, and a small room with labeled circuits became home. If fear tried to sprint, they reached for rails, one person, one hand, one breath. The rest was Tuesday, steady, legible, and finally theirs.